Join me as I cook for Shabbat. I already made challah last week, and so I don't need to prepare any. So I'm gonna set this out to defrost on the counter, and then I'm gonna microwave it closer to Shabbat so that it's nice and warm. The way that I make challah, by the way, you can find in some of my older videos, but the recipe will be linked down in the description, as well as the way that I do it when I can't stand up for long periods of time due to a flare-up. Right now, I'm dealing with a flare-up as I am cooking for Shabbat, so it's gonna be a very short, very easy Shabbat meal. So here I have some coho salmon from BJ's. I have some lamb from Walmart. And for me, I use the closest thing to kosher meat when I can't get kosher meat because of the accessibility. So I tend to use halal meat or otherwise humanely slaughtered meat. I also have some antioxidant blend vegetables with garlic and olive oil, broccoli, carrots, and sweet bell peppers. And then in my pantry, I am going to grab my rice from the bottom here. And this is going to be the rice that I am cooking today. Get my pressure cooker out. That's how I'm going to make the rice, where I don't have to see it over the stove. Let's get the rice going. So I have a very unique pressure cooker, and it will tell me how much I need to put in. So I'm going to go ahead and go down to grains, click on rice, and then I'm going to click on my jasmine rice. I want to make about 2 cups of rice, so I'm going to go ahead and select that. I'm going to measure out 2 cups of this rice, and then I'm going to click continue, put the top on, and it's going to pressure cook. Now it's gonna tell me how much water I need. It looks like I need 16 fluid ounces or 2 cups. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that much water in. Okay, so now that I've started on the rice back in my pressure cooker, I am going to now get started on my meats. Salmon's gonna be for tonight, and the lamb is gonna be for tomorrow, so I don't have to cook for 2 days. I'm only going to take out 2 pieces of salmon, because as I said, I have lamb for tomorrow. Now, I do something pretty controversial with my meat when it's frozen. I typically forget, because I have ADHD, to put out the food a day before I need to eat it so that's defrosted. So instead of that whole leave it in cold water for hours thing, I just throw mine in the microwave for a couple of seconds, up to a minute, and it gets them to room temperature in no time so I can start eating these. I use some Country Crock plant-based butter in order to cook with so that it is non-dairy, it's kosher, and I don't have to be concerned about putting dairy inside of any meat products. Cooking with non-dairy items in the home has made keeping kosher so much easier, as I'm on a journey to keeping a more kosher kitchen. But the separation between dairy and meat has been something that I have been attempting to do more as my journey continues. So my salmon pieces are officially ready to go. I'm going to cut these open and I'm going to put them in the pan. And lay these salmon pieces down, skin flat. Never cook from the other way because you're not going to get that beautiful sear on the back. Time to add my seasonings. Because I'm in a flare-up right now, I'm not going to use too many extravagant seasonings, so I'm just going to use a bit of sea salt, some black pepper. And I'm going to do this on both sides. Some ground thyme. And some coriander that I freshly ground a couple of days ago. Coriander is an amazing spice on salmon. If you don't know what coriander is actually the seed of the cilantro plant. So they come in full seeds and then you grind it up and it looks like this. I'm gonna let these cook. And once that bottom has seared, we'll see it in a couple of seconds. But once the bottom is seared, then you can turn it over and you start cooking it until it's reached about 140 degrees internally. Look at that. And it's gonna cook for way longer, but you can see how that sear has crisped up that skin. I'm gonna do the same thing for the other side. Now at this point, my family had come back home from errands before Shabbat, so I'm gonna take over with a voiceover to keep telling you what I'm doing. Let's zoom in on the beautiful sear that's on that salmon. Come on, look at that. That's absolutely astoundingly beautiful. You can see how the spices have crisped up on the skin, which is my absolute favorite thing. I love to just snack on those ends. And the salmon is pretty much done. I'm going to cook it a little longer and then I'm going to test the temperature. It should reach about 140 degrees to be cooked through. That way you don't have to be concerned about any kind of food poisoning or it's still being raw in the middle, especially since it was frozen when we started to cook it. Now I'm gonna get this plated and I'm gonna move on to my lamb. Now again, I am still new to the whole keeping a kosher kitchen process. And even though I'm not new to what you eat kosher, I'm totally new to how you cook kosher. So I might not have all the processes down for like kosher pans and keeping everything separate. But I'm doing my best, which is why I am working with 2 separate pans in this video, but I'm cooking all the meat in the same pan because both of the meats are not dairy, and the other pan has vegetables with Parmesan, which is dairy, which we're only eating with the salmon. I'm gonna get some onions diced up here, and go ahead and chopping those, and this onion is gonna go inside of the pan with the lamb. My favorite kind of knife is the Santoku knife, so that's the one that I'm using here, and it's the one that I will pretty much always use. Back to my meat, I am going to go ahead and dump all of those onions in. Since lamb is so full of natural liquids and oils, I don't have to be concerned about the onions boiling if I add them in early. So unlike if we were cooking other meats where it would reduce down faster and all you'd be left with was the onions burning, with this meat, not only will it cook really fast, but it has enough natural oils and liquids to make it where the onions are just going to get nice and aromatic, but they're not actually going to be overcooked. Zooming in, you can start to see that the meat has already started to sear. And I'm going to continue chopping this up. Then I'm going to add my same spice blend, salt, pepper, coriander, and thyme. And that is going to be my blend for today for all of my meats to keep it simple and digestion friendly. Now I know you're saying, but you're using onions. Well, my body can handle onions, but it can't always handle things like paprika or garlic powder around this time of a flare-up. So I'm going to go ahead and just stick to these spices and then add some actual chopped onions for flavor. And typically, as long as it's not a red onion, I can digest it really well during a flare-up. Look at how beautiful that meat looks. Zooming in. Now we're going to head over to the rice. It is done. The alarm went off and all the steam came out. And look at how beautifully fluffy that rice looks. And that was only made in 10 minutes with my pressure cooker. Again, pressure cooker is a lifesaver if you don't want to stand over a stove for long periods of time on most recipes. Back to my lamb. It is pretty much done. I'm just going to get all these bits in. And now I've moved on to the vegetables, which again are just for day 1, which is tonight, because they have Parmesan in them. But look at how beautiful those veggies look. Look at that. Okay, so I have my rice, and I'm going to go ahead and get that put into a container. My salmon is going to get put into a container, and I'm going to get lids on both of those, package it up, and put it in the fridge for tonight, so I don't have to be concerned about any kind of reheating issues or anything. I can just pop this out and get it ready to go. Okay, now I am plating the beef. Well, no, it's lamb. I'm plating the lamb. It's really, really interesting to do Shabbat prep. I didn't used to do Shabbat prep. I used to just cook all the way through whenever I needed to reheat stuff, but ever since I've started preparing food for Shabbat in advance, not only have I felt better, but my mind has felt a lot more well rested, and overall I just feel more spiritually connected to the practice as well. And I also really appreciate being able to have food made so I don't have to be concerned about cooking 7 days a week. So learning to be more observant has also helped me learn to take care of myself and prioritize my mental and physical health and spiritual health over trying to work as much as possible or produce as much as possible. And Shabbat is one of those days where it's just like Hashem is saying, you don't need to constantly produce. I got you. Okay, so later on that day, I went back in my fridge, brought out the kedem. I also use Welch's. I don't think that it's specifically kosher, but I love the sparkling juice. And again, still learning all the different kosher symbols and all of that. Okay, and this is the final plate. Heating that up and preparing it for Shabbat. And I lit my candles a little bit ahead of time so I would have some space. And there we go. Hope you enjoy.